Imagine an object that has remained essentially the same for generations. It has survived wars, passing trends, and even the digital revolution, remaining unchanged and preserved without altering a single detail. Incredibly, some objects have a design, a shape, a simple and functional form that allows them to survive for decades and decades up to the present day. They seem modern to anyone who takes the time to observe them. That's the case with the Bic Cristal pen, Converse All-Star sneakers, Ray-Ban Wayfarer glasses, the Porsche 911, and the Coca-Cola bottle, just to name a few examples. It's as if the set of simple initial lines in the design of these products made them useful and allowed them to escape countless passing trends that are born and die in a short period of time. Timeless design refers to creations that transcend passing trends, maintaining relevance, functionality, and aesthetic appeal over decades or even centuries. These designs usually follow principles such as simplicity, reduction to the essential, avoiding excessive ornamentation, functionality, prioritizing practical and ergonomic use, versatility, being adaptable to different contexts and users, and durability with materials and construction that withstand the test of time, and a balance between form and function which evokes emotion or nostalgia without relying on fashion trends. They often incorporate the golden ratio, minimalism, or deep cultural influences, making them timeless because they solve fundamental human problems in an elegant and intuitive way. Psychologically, they create an emotional connection through familiarity or aspiration. And economically, their longevity reduces the need for constant redesigns, promoting sustainability. The story of the Coca-Cola bottle is one of the most fascinating cases of how design can not only save and immortalize a brand, but also how something timeless is created. At the beginning of the 20th century, Coca-Cola was sold in straight generic bottles. This made things easier for competitors who created very similar names and labels, like Coca-Cola or Toca-Cola, to trick consumers. The company needed something impossible to copy. Coca-Cola launched a challenging contest among several glass companies in the United States, with a briefing that was almost poetic, to develop a bottle so distinctive that it could be recognized even if felt in the dark or even if it was broken on the ground. Root Glass Company from Indiana won the contest. The designer E.R. Dean looked for inspiration in the drink's ingredients. While researching the cola leaf and the cola nut, he ended up being fascinated by the shape of a cocoa pod. The curious detail is that cocoa has nothing to do with the Coca-Cola formula, but the curves and vertical grooves of the fruit created the iconic look we know today. The original prototype was very chubby in the middle, which made it unstable on the factory conveyor belts. The design was slightly slimmed down, resulting in the contour bottle, patented in 1915 and launched in 1916. And so, Coca-Cola came to have a unique, simple bottle, impossible to copy, and that would survive for generations. And as intended, it can be recognized even in the dark by touch and even if broken on the ground. They didn't know it, but they had created one of the most globally recognized and one of the most timeless objects in history. Thus, Coca-Cola has had a bottle that has changed very little from 1915 to the present day. If the Coca-Cola bottle is the queen of glass design, then Bic Cristal is the absolute empress of plastic. Its history is a lesson in how simple and cheap is better and can dominate the world when the engineering is flawless. The story begins with the Hungarian inventor Laszlo Biro, who in 1938 developed the first functional ballpoint pen to solve problems with fountain pens that reigned at the time. These problems were leaks and constant refills. Biro, a journalist, was inspired by a ball rolling on wet sand and created a mechanism with a sphere at the tip that distributed oil-based ink evenly. He patented the original design in Argentina and produced early versions, but faced problems with mass production and reliability. In 1944, the French businessman Marcel Biche, together with his partner Edouard Bouffard, bought a factory in Clichy, in the suburbs of Paris, initially to manufacture parts for writing instruments. Biche saw potential in Barreau's invention, and in 1945 acquired the patent rights for $2 million.
Ele investiu anos.
With improvements, he used Swiss watchmaking technology to produce 1 mm stainless steel balls with a precision of 0.01 mm error. He developed an ink with perfect viscosity, not too thin to leak, nor too thick to clog, and created a transparent hexagonal polystyrene body to prevent rolling and show the ink level. The success is due to the fact that Biche focused on automation to reduce costs, producing millions of units. The pen could write from 2 to even 3 kilometers without failures, was durable, and didn't need frequent refills, surpassing fountain pens. And most importantly, the pen was essentially made of plastics, which made it much cheaper for the target audience. They were sold at a price of just $2, dropping to 19 cents at the time. Typically, pens at that time cost more than $12, which would be equivalent to over $200 today. The simple, functional, and unique design of the pen made it a total instant success, turning the pen into a timeless item. Used by more than 94% of the entire world population, which is over 7.52 billion people, directly contributing to a more literate population, more automation, with over 20 billion units already sold. It is definitely one of the most remarkable objects ever created by humanity and has been with us up to the present day. These items are not the result of chance. They were meticulously made to rigorously fulfill the task for which they were created. Timeless design is not a style or an aesthetic trend. It is actually a resistance to chronology. While many items are based on planned obsolescence, which is basically making something look old, so you'll buy the new one, the items that end up becoming timeless seek the functional essence of the object. The foundation of modern timeless design draws from the Bauhaus and later from Dieter Rams's 10 principles. The idea is that the less visual noise an object has, the fewer elements it has that can be dated to a specific era. Therefore, a timeless object doesn't pretend to be something it is not. If it's plastic, let it look like plastic. If it's steel, let its coldness and strength show. Added to that, in all these objects, form always follows function, meaning there are no exaggerations or merely decorative items. Everything has a purpose. We can see this in the Bic pen, which is transparent, so we can observe the ink level inside. It has a hexagonal tube that prevents it from rolling when left on surfaces, and at the same time provides a better grip when using it. And besides that, it has a hole in the cap to allow air to pass through and reduce the risk of choking in case of accidental ingestion by children. In other words, form follows function. We can see the same thing in the classic Apple iPod, which was subtle minimalist, and every curved line and component had a very specific function and purpose. With special emphasis on the very well thought out gesture of rolling your finger over the buttons to serve as an up or down arrow without the need for extra buttons. In the 1952 Ray-Ban Wayfarer glasses, whose square design with acetate frames and trapezoidal lenses became timeless due to the perfect balance it provides in the piece itself, allowing it to adapt to human proportions and look great on both round and square faces. Examples also include the Leica M camera from 1954, the Zippo lighter from 1933, the cast iron pan from the 19th century, the typewriter, and even the basic white t-shirt, which has a minimalist design with a round or V-neck collar that dates back to antiquity, long before Christ. And even to this day,
Está presente.
Even the non-skid sneaker, with its non-slip rubber sole, launched in 1917 exclusively for use in basketball, became a real success. And in 1919, it was renamed to All-Star, which is the name we all know it by, to emphasize its excellence in the world of basketball. It was the official footwear of professional teams and the United States Olympic team in 1936, worn by 90% of NBA players. Over time, it transcended sports, becoming popular with the general public and ended up lasting for generations. Being a shoe that has essentially kept the same design for over 90 years, it can still be worn today without looking out of style. It's a true icon among sneakers. Another icon, but this time from the automotive world, is the Porsche 901, which was later renamed to 911 due to a dispute with Peugeot, who held rights to names with a 0 in the middle. This is a car that, after 63 years, still essentially retains the same general lines that define its shape. Looking at the 1963 version and the 2026 version, it's clear that it's the same car. It became impressive thanks to constant innovations over 8 generations. Keeping the essence, rear engine, golden ratio, large and prominent headlights, and the sloping shape from the center to the rear, while it evolved. Although many things have been improved and changed, like the engine becoming more powerful, the size of the car being slightly increased, the LED lights, among others, the car has aged like wine. The design has been preserved, and it continues to be preserved over 63 years. Therefore, timeless design usually relies on proportions that the human eye interprets as natural or balanced, and it is silent. It solves a problem in such an obvious way that it feels like it has always existed, like the Bic pen we saw earlier, where you can't imagine a simpler pen than the Bic pen. Then the white t-shirt, or the typewriter, or the moleskin notebook, or the rotary dial phone, or the Levi's jeans, 501, or even the first iPhone, which set the standard for all future cell phones without a physical keyboard in the world, bringing together the music player, phone, internet browser, and a multi-touch screen in the same device. Timeless design is the mortal enemy of modern rampant consumerism because it delivers a simple, useful, durable, and functional product, eliminating the need for constant replacements. Form should always follow function. If aesthetics get in the way of use, then the design is flawed. The object should explain how it works at a glance. The use of fine materials and precise assembly withstands the test of time,